an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Killing Eve, Season 1, Episode 8, the finale. God, I'm tired. In this episode, not a thing goes anywhere close to how I expected. This episode completely blew my mind. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha. First of all, I want to say thank you to Julia for commissioning this episode. I was just so excited. I'm going to check now how long until the next one after this, but I was really glad after getting to cover an episode last week to see that there was another one coming up so soon, because I think this might be my favorite show that I'm covering right now. And I don't like to say what my favorites are because it's sort of, I feel like it makes people think that I'm like not excited to cover other stuff, and it's not that at all. But this is a show that consistently surprises me, and that just counts for a lot in my book. Season 2, Episode 1, the 27th of this month. Oh my God, you guys, I'm going to get to watch the next one so soon. Oh, I'm so excited. The next one after that, though, isn't until May. So I'm going to have to go through all of April without watching anymore, and I will die. So I hope that somebody commissions more, because the last episode is May 12th, and I know as of now I'm booked in through June. So, okay. This episode was probably, like, when I think about what I expect to happen, looking at the events of the last episode, I'm thinking either some kind of like confrontation with Carolyn that obviously does not include Constantine being in the fucking room as it happens. Or maybe like Carolyn finding out that they like did some shit behind her back on her own and us seeing her react to that. Or finding out that she reacted to it after the fact and like, you know, did something to sort of throw an obstacle in their way. We don't get any amount of actually dealing with what Carolyn's been up to. And honestly, I shouldn't, like, this is the kind of thing that I think of it the way I want it to go in terms of how I want conflict to go in general, which is when there's a conflict, I want to sit down and have a conversation and have somebody explain themselves and just be like, okay, so what the fuck was this about? What were you thinking when you said / did this? I want to know and understand, and here's where I'm coming from. We don't get anything like that, and we don't even find out precisely what it was. There's a suspicion of what led her to go to the prison, because I had totally forgotten that Nadia slides a note under the door. And so we wind up with Kenny seeing that note like being picked up by a guard. And I guess he's like, what's sort of funny is that they went to that cell and got Villanelle out of there because she had just murdered Nadia and was covered in blood. And I guess they were just a little distracted at the fact that she had killed somebody and there was a body in there, because nobody picked this note up. Once we see like the camera that Kenny is watching, there's nobody around the cell and everything is clearly completely calmed down. And this is when one of the guards notices the note on the floor. And I'm not like too caught up in that. I just find it a little bit weird that it wasn't noticed sooner, that we see this like kind of quiet, private moment that is not how I envisioned them finding the note. But in any case, I believe that note is maybe what led to Carolyn coming into the prison and seeing Villanelle. But I may be being naive because she's obviously sleeping with Constantine again. And it could just be that, like, you know, I don't think that he, like, spilled information. There is a suspicion that maybe they are working together in some way that she isn't including other people in. And I don't know what it is that Nadia could have said in the note. Would she just be like, Villanelle is here? I mean, she may have. She may have said, Villanelle is here. You need to talk to Anna. That's, you know, the whole thing. Forgive me, guys. I'm realizing that, like, I'm not still sick. My allergies are just causing my throat to do this. So, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to back it up. I just wanted to talk about some of my, like, impressions overall. We start off this episode with one of the funniest scenes, Villanelle looking haggard. Oh, she's wearing this, like, weird sheepskin jacket thing. It's, like, awful. And she's got Constantine's daughter. And I think we learn her name, but I don't remember it, if anybody wants to remind me. Constantine has this moment later. Some of the best acting there. I think I'm most impressed with acting when somebody is showing either a combination of emotions at once, or they are showing one emotion with such sincerity that I feel it as well. And Constantine has a combo going on. He's talking when they finally come in the room and they're discussing what happened. He says that she took my daughter, and that pretty much shuts up Eve. I won't say shuts up, but it slows her down. He says something like Villanelle is going to kill her. And Eve says, sorry guys, God. Eve says, why? Is she annoying? And he starts laughing and says, she's so annoying. And then says, and he's got tears in his eyes, and he says, she is amazing, but she's so annoying. And it's like that awesome, like, mixture of affection and familiarity and frustration and love. And it's just, it's so believable. I have to believe this dude has kids, and he, like, channeled that when he was talking about this. But yeah, we get to see that right away. Villanelle and this girl are just fucking going at it out of the gate, screaming at each other. It's amazing. They're in the middle of a road, yelling at each other with Eve pointing a gun at her. And this car starts coming, and they decide to just sort of, like, can it in just so that they can hitch a ride and act vulnerable. Guys, I really need to talk about the fact that Constantine's daughter is unfazed by this gun. This bitch is screaming and pointing a gun in her face. I would be peeing my pants. Just, there it is. I would be like, this bitch is about to pop off any second. No. His daughter's like, you're not going to kill me. I'm not an idiot. You definitely need me. This isn't going to do you any good. I'm fine. Are you fine? You don't seem fine. Maybe you should take a little breather. Like, if anything, she seems to have it a little bit more together than Villanelle. And it is really amazing to watch, because we know that Villanelle has this sort of, like, jealousy there about her relationship with Constantine, which comes up later because Villanelle asks him which one of them is her favorite. And he says her, and, you know, anybody could be like, well, he's just saying that because she has the gun, and it's, you know, he's doing what he says what he needs to say in order to keep his daughter safe. I don't buy it. I think it's definitely true that Villanelle is kind of his favorite. I think he loves his kid tremendously. Don't get me wrong. But when you say favorite, that doesn't have to do with love. You know, favorite is who would I rather spend time with? Who am I the most excited to be around? And I mean, it's kind of natural that the person who is, first of all, older and, you know, more capable of having an adult conversation is going to be more interesting for him to hang out around. But also, Villanelle is so unique a person. That it's, you know, she's got this thing going on where she just sort of entrances people. And that's because of the force of her personality. I fully believe that Villanelle is more his favorite. And I'm not really mad at him about that. I'm not even mad at him for saying it because, like, his daughter, she barely even seems bothered. She just goes, hey, he said that he likes Villanelle's hair better. She doesn't seem to take it too much to heart, but I'm sure that will bother her. I mean, it's kind of impossible for it not to. So we go to Eve and Kenny, and they're talking about what they're going to do. And she wants to confront Carolyn, and he doesn't want to do that. She says she had no right to visit Villanelle without asking. And he says, why? She's not your girlfriend. It could be totally innocent. Which is really, this keeps coming up. And eventually Eve just says, my girlfriend, about Villanelle. Guys, is this like one of the queerest shows on television? Because the fucking sexual tension between the two of them is so palpable, and I can't imagine what everybody was thinking when we get to the final scene. People must have been freaking out because, I mean, of course, we already know that Villanelle is into women. We don't know exactly what the deal is specifically with her, like, wanting to castrate. Like, we get the impression it was just sparked from that one conversation. You only like him because he has a penis. And then it seems being like, well, I'll take the penis out of the equation then. But is that the first time she's ever done that? Because we know that she had been up to some shit before. I mean, you know, she was in prison already and they wind up breaking her out and whatnot. Is that the first time that she's done that? And there is a moment where Anna says, I thought she just didn't trust men. So Anna had this sort of impression as well. I'm going to be honest, I don't really need a backstory there. I don't need to find out Villanelle was like abused by somebody. I don't need to find out anything specific. A woman with a murky past that has led to her just not trusting or liking men and only being interested in women. I'm fine with it. And the thing is, it's not that she doesn't sleep with men. You know, she slept with the kid that lived in her building. She's voiced not exactly interest, but sort of like confusion as to the fact that Constantine has never tried to sleep with her, which is so funny to me because, I mean, when you are a dude that age dealing with a woman Villanelle's age, yeah, those dudes hit on you. Those dudes try and see what they can get away with because they know that nothing's going to happen to them. If they fail, then they can just continue living their lives. So they're just like, I may as well shoot my shot. And it doesn't seem like she wants to sleep with Constantine, but she's just kind of like, why didn't you ever even try? And I don't know that she would have been averse to it, but I think Constantine knows full well their relationship would like be forever altered and never return to any modicum of respect were he to do that. I think him holding her at arm's length is maybe part of where her affection comes from. It's like there is a safety to it in the fact that he has never been sexual about it with her. And so that leads to her feeling more at ease around him because it doesn't seem as if he's ever trying to get anything else out of her. It's a shame, but when you are a woman, when you are any type of woman, but especially when you are young and beautiful, you have to constantly be wondering exactly what dudes' agendas are. You can't ever trust that they're saying things or doing things because that is the best thing to be saying or doing, or because they believe what they're saying or doing. There's always the chance that they are just saying or doing whatever they need in order to get you into bed. And if there's a dude in your life who has shown no interest at all, and is also older than you, so there's a paternal aspect already, plus he's in a position of power, I can totally understand how she winds up just sort of being like almost impressed with him, you know, and in that way respecting him more because he doesn't do the typical sleazebag thing. So anyway, I can't believe how fucking much. Guys, I'm 16 minutes into this podcast and I am like 4 minutes into the actual episode. I know I've talked about a lot of it already. It's fine. But still, this show, there's so much to fucking discuss. I love it so much. Okay. So I love this. Kenny is like, well, we don't, she might have had a good reason. And Eve says, are you frightened of your mother? And she says it in this way, like she really thinks that this is going to get his goat. And he just says, of course, isn't everyone? And she kind of looks flattened by that. Like when he responds like that, she's like, well, damn, I really thought that was going to do something. And he says, if she's involved, she's dangerous. There's a reason she went alone, and there'll be a reason she wants us back in London. We need to respect. And she interrupts, no, we need to ask her what the hell she was getting out of my girlfriend. I love it. So they go upstairs. She does this thing where she like demands a room key and she gets it without anybody checking her ID. And she's sort of like shocked at how well it worked, despite the fact that she is being, now this is one of those things that maybe this would work, but if you are in the service industry, I have seen this a million times. So I believe I know what I'm talking about when I say this. If you are in the service industry and somebody comes at you like this, I need my key now. As a service employee, your instinct is to fuck this person's day right up. Like you just are, oh, really? You think this is going to go like that? Well, you need something from me. I don't need anything from you. So let's have a little talk about how this is actually going to go. Because what we're not going to do is smack the desk and yell at me. So how about you back towards that fucking door, rearrange your attitude, and come at me with a new vibe. And I would like, this was one of my favorite things, was when people would be a total dick and they were asking me for something that I could easily do. Really, I could, but I didn't like them. So I would make it difficult, or I would say that really wasn't policy, because it wasn't. I freely broke policy all the time. Don't get me wrong, but I did that for people that I liked and who were nice to me. So while I am totally fine with letting this go for the show, the reaction that I see when I work in these like places is somebody comes at the person like that, and the person behind the desk doesn't go, yes, ma'am, right away. They go, can I have some ID, please? And kind of turn chilly and challenge the customer a little bit, you know? I don't know. Your mileage may vary on that, I guess, but let me know what you guys think, because that is just something that maybe I'm just super petty, but a lot of people are really petty, you know? That's how the world is. So they go into the room and fucking Constantine is already there. You can see that they are just actually like, she seems to think that either Carolyn isn't there, or that, and that they'll be able to search her room, or that Carolyn will be there and they'll have the upper hand, just like busting in. So they come in, and the immediate reaction that Eve has is that somebody has ransacked the place. And when they turn and see Constantine standing there, there's this immediate assumption that he did something to her, that he is just got done ransacking the place, and she's tied up in the bathroom or something. He's holding a hairdryer. I don't know what that's about, but he's also drinking nippers, like probably from like the hotel, like safe bar or whatever. So here comes the moment where he tells them that his daughter was taken, and Eve is trying so hard to get a fucking head of righteous steam up here. Why I specifically told you to return to London. Why aren't you in London? And Eve just says Villanelle is in the prison. And when Carolyn said she's not, Eve tries to be like, oh, really? Because she thinks this is her moment to be like, I fucking know, bitch. But no, when Constantine interrupts and says somebody broke her out and she's taken my daughter, the rug just gets pulled out from under Eve so completely. And now Constantine, who she has been viewing as an enemy, and still does, don't get me wrong, to a degree, is also a victim of this woman. And that changes everything. The whole dynamic of this conversation is new. So this is when they go downstairs and have their breakfast conversation and talk about what's up. And we cut to the amazing scene between Villanelle and Constantine's daughter, where they are trying to out-language each other. Villanelle speaks French. She speaks, I think she says at one point she speaks Portuguese. And then finally she speaks Chinese. And his daughter doesn't reply, and she takes that to be evidence that she doesn't speak it. But later on, she says like a full sentence in Mandarin, and Villanelle doesn't know what it is she said, because it turns out Villanelle can say, "What about Chinese?" or like, "Can you speak Chinese?" And that's about it. So this girl has a leg up on her, and it's so wonderful to see how Villanelle can be such like a psychotic badass and still be very, very childish. I really enjoy this part of her personality. She's just, I mean, we have seen it so many times with the way she approaches a kill in general. It's a fucking outing for her, you know? It's like a scavenger hunt, you know? And she's just like checking off another thing on her list. There's no nerves. She's not worried about it. It's just, I know I'm going to do this, and I know I'm going to do it brilliantly. The question remains, in what way shall I be brilliant this time? And I really love her coming up against a fucking kid who is, I don't want to say outshining her, because like, not really. They're not competing on the same kind of level at all. But Villanelle sees it that way. And it's because of who this girl is. If this girl were any other kid that she took prisoner, she wouldn't be so wrapped up in it. But it's that it's Constantine's daughter. And that is changing everything. And this scene was so great. I loved it so much. So I loved too Eve at one point when they're having breakfast very pointedly saying, "Oh no, I haven't had any contact with Villanelle since we came," and kind of giving Carolyn this look. And Carolyn's eyebrows go up, but she doesn't actually respond to this accusation. I gotta say, guys, I'm forgetting the name of the actress that is playing Carolyn, but God, she's good. I love her so much. She was in a recent episode of Miss Marple that I was watching, and every time she's on screen with anything, even in True Blood, she's playing like one of the trashiest roles ever, and she still like killed it. She's just great. I love her. So apparently Constantine has decided to simply share with them that that they are assigning Villanelle to kill him. He doesn't know why, but he's like, "I work for Russian intelligence, so I mean, somebody always wants me to die." And I don't, Carolyn specifically asks, "Why would the 12 want you dead?" And this is one of those moments where, you know, we don't have information that we seem to think we have. When I say we, I mean me. When Villanelle and Constantine are talking and she asks him, "Which one of the 12 are you?" And he says, "Oh dear." That I took as what's the word? Tacit confirmation that he is indeed one of the 12. I'm realizing now, he could have said, "Oh dear," for any number of reasons. That didn't mean that she nailed it. That meant she got something right that he didn't want her to get right, but that doesn't mean specifically that he is one of them. It could simply have been the fact that she knows about the 12 at all. And I'm sitting here when she says, "Why would the 12 want you dead?" thinking that Carolyn is unaware that he's one of the 12 when she asks that, because she makes them sound like a separate group of people. But then I'm like, she doesn't phrase it that way necessarily. She just says, why would the 12 want you dead? And I guess that's why I'm saying she doesn't say, why would the 11 or why would the 12 want one of their own dead? I don't know if the possibility that Constantine is part of that organization has occurred to Carolyn. I mean, I'm sure it has occurred to her. She's not an idiot, but she doesn't seem to think that that's likely. It doesn't, I gotta be honest, guys. I am extremely bored of the name The 12. Can we come up with something better, man? The 12. I mean, I don't know. Something. Dozen. The Dirty Dozen. I don't know. I just, it's so boring. The Dirty Dozen's even worse. I'm sorry. So we go to Eve, and she is calling Anna, and she's calling Anna as Anna opens the door and Constantine's daughter is standing outside, just doing this sort of like, I'm a lost child. Can I come in? And this woman is like just standing there with her door open, letting this kid come in without seeming to like really think about the fact that there's, a killer that well, who knows where you live on the loose. And this woman just came and told you that she's still alive recently. And maybe you should just have your guard up a little bit. Fiona Shaw, says Agnes. Oh, is that the actress's name? Thank you. She doesn't look like a Fiona. But yeah, she lets this little girl in. And guys, this is just me being really superstitious. I don't know if you guys have heard of the lore of the black-eyed children, but this is in paranormal podcast. There are, or paranormal like radio shows like Art Bell. There are kids that are seen by people and they seem to be alone and in some sort of like mild distress, like they're lost or they're hungry or something. And their eyes are all black. They just look wrong. And the encounters that people have had, apparently, the kids will say something like, I'm really hungry. Can I come in? And the whole thing, the legend is supposed to be, you do not let them into your house. Like, at all. And there's not a lot of detail about what happens if you do, but it's that sort of like, just that legend. And so she opens the door and there's a little girl that she doesn't know standing out there just being like, can I come in? Fuck no, kid. Bye. I don't care that your eyes aren't black. I don't know. This could be a glamour of some kind. I don't trust it. I don't like it. You're not coming in anywhere. So Eve is going to go and find Anna and bring her back here. Carolyn says, I will talk to Vlad and organize somewhere for her to stay. You pack up the base, get home, and we'll talk later, she says to Kenny. And Kenny starts to say, I want, and she says, you either want a job, in which case do what I say, or you don't want a job, in which case fend for yourself for once. It's a problem with working for your mother. And then Constantine says that he will take Eve, and he says it in this way that, like, I think she thinks he wants to intimidate her. So she's like, yeah, that's fine. Let's do that. Almost like, oh, you thought you were going to make me uncomfortable? I would love to be in a car alone with you and finally get to fucking talk to you about what the hell is going on here. There's something about Eve that's just so aggressive. And when she turns and like glares at Carolyn over her shoulder, I swear to God, it is so funny to me. The fact that she never really gets to have that conversation she wanted with Carolyn. And I wouldn't be surprised if things turn out that Carolyn winds up dead somehow, and she never does. She never gets that confrontation that she wanted, So while Anna is being distracted by the daughter, Villanelle sneaks into the house because she is trying to get that jacket so that she can get her passport and credit cards and all of that back. And it's not there because, as we know, Eve took it. But she thinks that Anna took it out and like put it somewhere. She catches on pretty quickly to the fact that Eve had something to do with this. I love the fact that Anna is trying to cope with this lost kid and says something about calling the cops. And Villanelle is like looking at her like telling her not to do that. And her instinct is to just fuck Villanelle over. So she says, yeah, good, let's do that. And I just love the two. I would watch a whole show. I mean, I guess there are a lot of movies like this, aren't there? With like the cold-blooded killer who's like entrusted to deal with a kid and is not good at coping with it. But usually the cold-blooded killer is the straight man and Villanelle is not. They're both not. Like the kid is really more the straight man. So I like how she like looks at Anna. Her face sort of softens. It's clear that like there's still emotion there for her. But it's not, as we find out later, what it was. It's just not what it was. And I think that it feels really true to have this sort of like nostalgia for another time and a feeling of just like familiarity, but not, too much has happened. Too much has changed. And I also love the fact that like Villanelle is so certain that this coat that she mailed this woman, like what, years ago at this point, is still going to be there. She just seems to take it for granted that if she sent Anna something, Anna will have kept it. And she's right. So yeah, it's gone. She goes out there finally and is forced to confront Anna. And there's this like amazing scene where Anna basically, she says how much she fantasized about eventually getting to kill her. And of course there's the lead up to that with talking about Villanelle's face and I want to help make you feel better. You're all cut up. Please let me like at least clean you up a little bit. Your face is a mess. And her eyes get all like teary. And I've said it before. It's so hard for me to know when Villanelle is fucking like genuinely feeling something and when she's putting it on. I didn't see much of an advantage to her putting it on here. So I think this was real. But either way, it's just a tricky thing to really know. So, okay, we watch the scene where Kenny sees them picking up that note from underneath. Then we go to Eve, and she is in the passenger seat looking at Constantine as he chugs another nipper while driving. And she's just like, dude, just let me drive. What's the fucking deal? And he's not going to hear of it. She pops open the glove compartment at one point and there's a gun in there. And he doesn't even like really get mad at her. He just closes the glove box and is just like, come, can you leave it alone? Come on. Jesus Christ. I really like the tension between the two of them, the way that this feels. And I like too that she points out he knows exactly where Anna lives. Like, she says that's where they need to go, and he didn't ask directions or anything. And she seems to really feel like she got one up on him by noting that. But it seems like I feel like Eve's really underestimating the direness of the situation for Constantine. I think that she sees this as a potential setup. Maybe Villanelle's not actually, like, she hasn't escaped. Maybe she hasn't taken his daughter. Who knows how much of any of this is actually true? And even if it is, who knows if Constantine is as worried as he's acting? Like, she just doesn't trust this guy overall. So she keeps on having these little moments of triumph over small things that I think she expects to matter more than they really do, because he's got fucking way bigger fish to fry at this point, you know? So we go to Anna, and Villanelle says something to Anna about how we had the best sex in that chair. The best sex we ever had was in that chair. And, you know, Anna had said that she didn't have sex with Villanelle when Eve asked. I kind of felt at the time that she was telling the truth, because she got so indignant, like she knew that that was what Eve was going to be thinking, even though it wasn't like that between the two of them. But realizing that I was wrong, I'm not like, it makes total sense. I'm just sort of like, oh, now I don't know what to do. I feel like even worse about all of this, because it was a genuine like romance. Not that sex has to be involved for it to be a genuine romance, but it was like, it was no longer subtext, you know? So she whirls around pretending that she's getting stuff for her face, and she has the gun, and she says, I'll shoot you. I know that I can do it. I have dreamed about doing this for years, and God would understand. And she just talks about how I prayed to God for you to come here. And it's a really interesting, the whole way that she is saying this. There is just such a tone of her wanting to convince herself. She's saying, I want to kill you. And I don't not believe her. But I just think it's more complicated than that. I think when she's saying, I prayed to God that you would come, she then has to say, so that I could kill you, to make it make sense. Because it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. This woman killed her husband, fucking castrated him in their home. She should hate her unequivocally, but she doesn't, and she doesn't get why. And so she has to say, I hoped that you would come here because I want to take my revenge. Because she can't be like, I hope that you would come here because I want to see you. I desperately want to see you. Oh my God, I miss you. She can't. How do you, how do you forgive and move on? You can't. And at this point, the daughter says, if you two love each other, and Villanelle says, I don't love her anymore. And she starts to say, I can definitely shoot you. No problem. And starts to lift her gun. And before she can, Anna puts the gun under her chin and pulls the trigger. And there's a genuine moment of sadness from Villanelle looking down at her body. It's a combo here, I think, of just like, I didn't really want her dead and this sucks. I didn't want it to end this way. And also, I can't help but think I was supposed to do that. That was my job. I was going to kill you. I can't believe you just did it. And you took that. Fine. I just like, might be my imagination, but I think that's there. So Eve is really pressing him to find out what the involvement that he has with Villanelle is. And he keeps saying, if I told you, I'd really have to kill you. And there's this weird, like, fake laugh thing going on between the two of them. Guys, I can't deal with how little he's looking at the road while he drives. It makes me so fucking nervous. And when she asks him, are you one of the 12? He says, are you insane? And I just can't tell. I can't tell if he means it or not. He doesn't answer. He just says, are you insane? Which I guess is supposed to just be like, you think I'm that high level? And I really I don't think of people who are parts of these kinds of organizations as being boots on the ground type, involved. So I'm starting to think that it wouldn't make sense that he's one of them. I feel like they have to be trillionaires, the people who run things have money almost always. And it's not that his house wasn't like beautiful, but he doesn't have the kind of money that I'm talking about. It doesn't seem anyway. And he starts asking Eve about, the fact that Villanelle came to the house. And that, she asked Villanelle who she thought the 12 were. And they basically come to this agreement, like, well, you have to give her what she wants. And Eve says me, and he says, no, me. And they begin to fight over which one of them Villanelle is after. And guys, I can't tell you how much I love the fact that they each seem to be a tiny bit jealous of the attention of this mass murderer. It's amazing. Honestly, it's amazing. So, all right. I'm running out of time here. We have some antics between Villanelle and the daughter, pickpocketing somebody. We have Eve confronting Constantine while he's taking a piss, and she pulls a gun on him and everything. It's really, yeah. In the whole scene, he turns around and it's out, and she's like, can I put it back? Yes, put it back. Oh my God. And the way, like, Eve is so aggressive and so, like, really wanting to be in charge here, but just isn't, she's out of her depth. She doesn't really even know what questions to ask, He says that he recruited Villanelle from prison. She says, from who? Russian intelligence? And he says, no, for a private organization. They trained her. I trained her briefly. But I haven't seen her in years. And she says, I don't believe you. We know, of course, that he's seen her a bunch of times. He's lying. So, and he lies very well. So it's really hard to know what he's being truthful on and not, it's just tricky. And he's like, basically, when it comes down to it, I need you to get my daughter back. And after that, we can figure out whatever the fuck you want, but primary focus here is getting my fucking kid. So can we please get back to fucking business? And they're in the middle of this when she gets the phone call from Villanelle, and they have the conversation about meeting up at this cafe, which is an extremely dramatic moment. It's this gorgeous marble pillared tea room. I want to go places like this, like every day. And there's these towers of macarons in the background and bottles of champagne and where is it? I just want to go. Actually, I think she says the name of the cafe. She says like Cafe Rafnovsky or something. But yeah, we have the standoff where all of the crowd like gets up and runs once they see that guns are pulled. Smart crowd. Thank you guys. And Eve has the passport and the credit cards, which is what Villanelle is after. And Eve puts the gun down finally after like admitting that she doesn't really know what to do with it. And she chucks the baggie with all the stuff in it. And there are two standers by who have not been able to exit because they're too much in the middle of it all. And Villanelle asks for their help. Will you please just move that over here? Thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, Villanelle demands to know which one of the two of them he likes the best. He tells her not to break his heart. She says, don't break mine. And then looks at Eve and says, you either. And there's like this little like moment, the whole thing. Eventually, Eve like picks up the gun again or she gets it back. It doesn't matter. But the two of them have this moment where Eve is saying, just you and me, please just let her go. And then you and I can have the conversation that we need to have. And there's sirens because there are cops being they have been called. And when she hears them, Villanelle finally cuts and runs. So then we go to the meetup with Carolyn. We get the phone call while Eve is on the bench next to Carolyn from Helena, telling her about the kid in this Paris apartment that died from the same weird asphyxia as the woman in the Paris meeting. And that she checked who's paying for the apartment, and it was being paid out of the same account as the one that was paying into Frank's bank account. Carolyn asks her who that was, and she says Nico. And Carolyn says, well, that's a good reason to go home. And then, I believe that you both handed over my private correspondence with Constantine to Vlad in exchange for Nadia. It was a dirty move, but a good one. I'm sorry it had to end this way. It looks like I'm going to have to finish this on my own. You can both pack up the London office. And Eve is looking at her in total shock. And I had to be like, Eve, what did you think was going to happen? I guess Eve just didn't think Carolyn was going to find out that they did that in the first place. But, and you know, to be honest, I don't know how Carolyn found out. Did Vlad just tell her? I mean, it's certainly possible. He just was like, hey, by the way, I'm giving you Nadia, but you should know that the people you're working with are kind of not chill. Because, I mean, there's no surer way to hold up an investigation than by dividing the team that is coming at you. So that might have been tactical and might be smart. But Eve really looks shocked. And I'm like, girl, you were about to do something shady. You had to know that, like, especially you were about to confront her, even if she never found out about the correspondence being handed over. You were about to come into her hotel room and tell her that you disobeyed orders, that you watched footage that she, like, told you to just leave alone, and found out that she was doing something that she wasn't telling you about. Why would she ever want to continue working with you if she doesn't believe that she can trust you to follow orders and do what she says? Not that I disagree with your overall take on the way you handled it. I think it was genius. But you have to know, once you make this choice, that's the end of the team. Like, that's not happening anymore. And Eve just really seems totally taken aback by this. So now they're about to board the plane, and Eve is sitting there floored because she pretty much gave up everything. Like, her relationship with Nico, I feel like she's just sort of assuming that's over now. And because he just hasn't called her back the entire time she's been gone. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets home and he's just moved out, you know? And she's standing in line to get on the plane, and she has this moment of just realizing, I don't have anything to lose now. This investigation isn't mine anymore, so I'm free to act in whatever way I feel like. I don't really need anybody to sanction anything. I'm just gonna go ahead and go where I know Helena said she was. So, next thing we see, she's in fucking Paris, and she's talking to this old lady who was congratulating Villanelle on banging the kid next door. Turns out this old woman is like her monitor and is giving like all of these reports to Eve, because Eve just keeps her mouth shut enough for the old lady to fill in the blanks about who she is and what her involvement with Villanelle is. And eventually Eve is just like, so we're trying to streamline things. If you could send these reports via text from now on, that would be great. Which I can't wait to see what that fucking looks like. I assume there won't be much to report because Villanelle, I would assume, is not coming back to this apartment ever again. But nevertheless, she tries to, like, break into the apartment, and the woman, like, says, oh, do you need a key to get in? I mean, it's just amazing. So Eve goes into Villanelle's place and is just kind of like, it's a weird combination, her house, of it looking kind of like run down, but also there are occasional pops of real indulgence and just living it up in a way that you can see sort of irritates her. So it's like, you know, the giant, amazing bathtub with the gold fixtures and everything. I love that she keeps being a little bit annoyed by all of it. And she goes through Villanelle's stuff and gradually begins to get more and more enraged at the way this woman is living, at the fact that she just comes into my life and my home and ruins everything and gets to come back to this amazing apartment and it's fine. And starts to just toss shit. She goes into the fridge and sees that it's just filled with bottles of champagne, and she just begins to break them, and she pulls one and starts to drink it, but the rest of them she just like throws on the floor. It's amazing. It's a really honestly pretty cathartic scene. So Villanelle comes home in the middle of this. I mean, guys, we all knew this was going to happen, right? I mean, of course. Villanelle comes in and seems, I won't say she seems unsurprised by the fact that Eve is here, but she's not mad. And she says, "Did you have a party?" And then she sits down on the vanity stool next to the bed. And Eve sits across from her on the bed and just stares at her. And they both have like this, I don't know what to say. And finally, Eve just says, "I got to tell you something. I think about you all the time. I think about what you're wearing and what you're doing and who you're doing it with. I think about what friends you have. I think about what you eat before you work and what shampoo you use and what happened in your family. I think about your eyes and your mouth and what you feel when you kill someone. I think about what you had for breakfast. I just want to know everything." And Villanelle is seeming like this is like what she wants to hear. And Villanelle says, "I think about you too." And then says, "I mean, I masturbate about you a lot." She just says it. She just says it. I love this woman so much. Eve says, "Well, that," and Villanelle says, "Too much?" And Eve says, "No, I just wasn't expecting that." And Villanelle says, "So what, you trashed my apartment because you like me so much?" And Eve's just kind of like, "Yeah?" And she asks Villanelle, "What is it you want?" And I mean, honestly, don't be an asshole. Tell me really. And Villanelle says, "I want a nice life, a cool flat, a fun job, normal things. I want someone to watch movies with." And Eve is sort of looking at her like she doesn't know what to think. And she just falls back on the bed and says, "God, I'm tired." And Villanelle sits up when she falls back on the bed and seems to take this as the moment of truth where she can make a move. She gets up, she moves the gun away first and puts it off to the side. She stands there holding it for a minute where you're kind of thinking like, oh, she's going to do something, but she doesn't. She puts the gun away and then she lays down next to Eve, or she doesn't put it away. She holds on to it, but it doesn't, like, she's not going to use it. And they're laying next to each other. And she says, Eve says, "Are you going to kill me?" And Villanelle shakes her head. Eve says, "You promise?" And she says, "I promise." And then looks down at the gun and drops it on the floor. And they lay there, both of them, it appears, unarmed, because we forget for a second about the knife that she grabbed. Villanelle turns over on her side and looks at her. Just, will you stay for a bit? And Eve says something like, I guess I have never done anything like this before. And Villanelle says, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. And she comes up to her to kiss her. And all of a sudden you see Villanelle stop and say, wow. And then just says, that's rude. And Eve says, yeah. And we look and see that there is a knife pressed against her stomach. And Eve seems tickled by it. She's like, oh, I mean, okay, but I don't think that's a good idea right now. And she says, you can't. And Eve says, I can. And plunges the knife into Villanelle's guts and really like gets on top of her and holds it there. And Villanelle looks at her and says, I really liked you. It hurts. And you see Eve's face all of a sudden. There had been triumph, but once Villanelle says, I really liked you, Eve seems to suddenly be like, oh my God, what am I doing? And Villanelle says, don't pull it. But Eve is trying to take back what she did, and she pulls it out without really thinking. And Villanelle's just like, what did I just say? Oh my God. And all of a sudden you see Eve just be like, oh my God, I made a huge mistake. I've made a huge mistake. I've made a huge mistake. And she runs into the kitchen. She tries to get some stuff to staunch the bleeding, but Villanelle has the gun. And so she begins to shoot at Eve from the bedroom. And eventually Eve gets she's sort of hunkered down in the kitchen waiting for her to stop. And Villanelle, I guess, somehow manages to get away. I don't know what because she's bleeding a lot, y'all. There's blood all over that bed. Eve is up to the wrists. She's just red. And when she comes out, Villanelle is gone. And the monitor old lady is standing there, and she just says, she has gone. And part of me is I'm wondering if she's not huddled up under the bed or something, and they're just trying to get Eve out of the actual flat so that she can get first aid or do something. Maybe the monitor has realized that Eve isn't who she said she was. I don't, one might think that's what she realized, but I don't know how these people operate, and maybe a knife fight between them wouldn't be out of the question. But guys, this is the most amazing finale. Oh my God. I have no idea what's going to happen. I really don't. And Villanelle says, I really liked you, and I believe her. I can't help but think this might make her like Eve even more. I could see this almost being oh, sweetie, remember that time when you stabbed me? Looking back on it, guys, I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm out of time, but thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you again very much to Julia for commissioning this episode. It was super fun. I can't wait to watch the next one. I'm so mad that there's such a break. But yeah, if you are interested in commissioning an episode, sorry, dropped my shoe. If you're interested in commissioning an episode before too long a break passes, go to unspoiledpodcast.com/shop, and you will see the listings there for spoiling the episodes. Okay, guys, thank you again, and I will see you so soon with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.